Hello everyone, welcome to Total Swans TV. Football is back, baby. Come on!
Why you shooting? Oh, get out!
So, the football season has returned. The Championship is back. The Premier League is back. Bundesliga is back. La Liga is back. All the big leagues around Europe are finally returning back to normality as far as a schedule and fixtures are concerned. The leagues want to be finished. You know, every governing body over each league's division, they've agreed. You know, they want these games to be done and the seasons to be completed. League 2 and League 1, the seasons are done. The playoffs are going to be decided. The first game was on Friday night. There's a few more this weekend, and you know the playoffs are going to be completed. As for the Championship, the season will resume, and it begins with this first game of the final 9 against Middlesbrough. So Boro are currently sat in 19th spot, just 3 places off the relegation zone. Very difficult season it's turned out for Boro this year. You know, they had a pretty decent season last year, but Woodgate is really struggling this season with that Boro squad, and has found himself come under quite a bit of pressure as recent times have gone by. You know, their run of form has been pretty awful. Just not to say that Swansea has been brilliant, but you know their run of form has been pretty awful this season. So they are finding themselves down in 19th spot. On 41 points, where the Swans are the other end of the table, just 3 points off the playoffs in 11th spot, with everything to play for. As I say, Boro are sort of fighting relegation, trying to stay in the Championship for another season. It would be unfortunate for a club like Boro, their size, to go down to League One. We've seen what has happened, with the likes of Bolton over the last few years and Sunderland. They have found it very difficult to come back up to the Championship, Portsmouth being another example. But it's not the easiest division to get out of League One. You know, you have to adjust with your budget and that sort of thing. You can't go spending millions of pounds on players unless you do take that first season gamble and try and get straight back up to the Championship. Sunderland was a bit of an unfortunate situation there for them, as we've seen with their Netflix documentary. Which was really insightful, and if you haven't seen it, definitely worth a watch. You know what goes on into a club behind the scenes. But it would be unfortunate for a team, as I say, like Middlesbrough, to drop down into League One. So after Saturday, I wish them all the very best for the rest of the season. But obviously, I want the Swans to win on Saturday and pick up as many points as we can now until the end of the season. There's 9 more games left of the season. There's 27 points available. Anything can happen. You know, teams down at the bottom of the table can finish in the playoffs. Mathematically, they still can. Teams in the playoffs can still win the division. Teams in mid-table can still win the league. It's not likely to happen, but it is still mathematically possible at the moment. Saying that, though, West Brom and Leeds, they're going to go up automatic, the pair of them, in my opinion anyway. And the likelihood of that to happen, it's pretty fair to say it's probably going to happen. As for the playoffs, I'd love the Swans to sneak in there. But looking at the fixtures remaining towards the end of the season, our next 2 games are our easiest opponents, or should be the easiest games remaining. We've got Boro and then we have Luton Town. So they should be fairly winnable games. You know, we should be looking to pick up maximum points in those. After that, then we've got every team, sort of mid-table and in the top 6. Including we still have Leeds to play at home, so that's really unfortunate. I was really looking forward to going to that game. Obviously going up to Ellen Road and getting that 1-0 victory, that late Wayne Routledge goal, securing the 3 points up there. And if you haven't seen it already, I'll link the vlog or it'll be up here. The Ellen Road game earlier in the season. What a fantastic day out! My first time up at Leeds to Ellen Road watching the Swans, or up there at all. So yeah, I give my thoughts on the stadium, and it was a fantastic day. We went top of the table, and we were playing some amazing football at the start of the season. But like I say, let's hopefully we can pick up that sort of run of form. Going in now to the last few games. This period that we've had off due to the global pandemic, the COVID-19, it's longer time away from football than what what would happen during the off season. We've had almost 100 days or over 100 days worth of no football whatsoever, other than light training as of recent, and contact training and a couple of friendlies. Swansea having played Cardiff last weekend in 2 friendly games, drawing both of those 0-0 and 1-1. But as I say, this is the first competitive game now. The Championship is back, football is back, and I'm just super excited for it. Going to be live streaming it Saturday afternoon. It's going to be live on my YouTube channel, so make sure you do subscribe with notifications turned on, ready for that. We're going to be starting the live stream at 12 o'clock. Kickoff is at 12:30. We're running until just after the final whistle. Take some questions and that sort of thing. So I really do hope that you can tune in for that. And if you haven't seen it, it's going to be posted. If you're watching this after the game, that live stream will be uploaded as a video for you to check out afterwards. Fingers crossed that goes good, and it's a very good video to watch. That will more than likely depend on the result and how well the Swans do. So yeah, just a bit of a preview. As far as goal scorers go, Andre Ayew is on 14 goals this season. He started off a little bit slow, sort of midway through the table, sort of midway through the season. Picked up his pace with the goals, and when he started scoring, there was really no stopping him. He was either creating a goal or scoring one himself. So fingers crossed we can get straight back into that sort of form. Brilliant bit of news today. George Byers is now fit, and he will be available for selection for Saturday for the game against Boro, and he will then be available for the remaining games of the season. Obviously, had the season not have been sort of postponed and pushed back, Byers would have missed the remaining of the season. So from a personal perspective for George, I've seen the interview. He's very, very pleased with that. Obviously, he thought he was going to miss the rest of the season. So a massive bonus for the squad and for the fans and the Swans going into the last few games. Fingers crossed he does get involved. We've got additional substitutes we can make now. So I think it's up to 5 subs that you can make on a match day. Cooper's renowned for making not very many, but fingers crossed. Obviously, match fitness is going to be key. Not all these players are going to be able to run full pelt for 90 minutes. So most of them will probably come off. I expect maybe one at half time, depending on how the first half went. Definitely a couple between 60 and 70 minutes, and then probably 1 or 2 towards the end of the game. But fingers crossed George gets involved, and a couple of the youngsters and a few of the fringe players get involved. I would like to see Kalulu involved, at some point during the game. I don't think he'll start. But my starting lineup for the Swans, what I think Cooper will go for. So I think Cooper will go for obviously Woodman in goal, Bidwell left back. I think he'll choose Cabango and Roden as the centre backs with Roberts at right back. Maybe Norton will feature, as one of those substitutes that will come on, or maybe he will start. It's a very difficult position to choose your starting right back, because they are both fantastic players. Obviously Roberts, he does lack that little bit less experience than Norton, but he adds so much more than what Norton doesn't, and vice versa. So it is probably one of the most difficult positions to pick for Cooper or any of our managers, whoever would be making that decision. I've opted for Roberts. I think that's what Cooper will choose. I think that's who Cooper will pick. We've then gone for Fulton, Grimes and Gallagher in midfield. Obviously Gallagher in that sort of attacking midfield position. And then Andre Ayew out on the right wing, Salina out on the left wing, and Brewster up top. I'd be very, very happy if that was if this was the starting lineup Cooper chose. It's very attacking. It's very possession orientated. I think that we could definitely cause Middlesbrough some trouble with that starting 11 on Saturday. Substitute bench will be what it is. I think that's been extended as well, up to, I think, to 9 players, as I say, with 5 matchday subs being available to each manager. I know that I think that the loan players has gone up to 6 that you can have on the bench or involved in a matchday squad, rather than the original 5. So there's a lot of opportunities for every manager in the Championship now to experiment, with a couple of different formations during the game, make some changes that you wouldn't normally make, and take risks you wouldn't normally risk. So it's going to be a very interesting last 9 games of the season. I think I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm sure you guys are too. So leave your comments down below. What you think the score prediction is going to be for Swansea and Middlesbrough. Maybe I'll link every fixture, and if you guys want to copy that and put your scores in, I think that would be a something decent that we can all get behind, and maybe start a community subscriber sort of league table next year. If everyone decides to comment, it can be like a little fantasy football, but a results sort of prediction league. Maybe at the end of the season, then, with a giveaway prize for first place, maybe something literally just come to my head now. I think that could be a very good idea. Looking at players available for each manager, Middlesbrough's captain David Ayala has come out. I think he's been injured for the majority of the season anyway, but he's come out and said that he's not really comfortable returning back to football just yet. Likelihood he'll return in sort of midway through July, just before the end of the season. Going off what I've read online, I had originally heard somewhere, I think it was social media, so you take it with a pinch of salt if it's not from a reliable source. Can't even remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Ayala has chosen not to return to football for the rest of the season due to COVID-19 sort of concerns. I'm not sure if that's the case or whether it is to do with his ankle injury, but he's not available for Saturday anyway. There's been some good news during this off time, knowing that the season is going to be returning, with I believe almost all of our loan players now extending their contracts towards the end of the season, which their contracts would have been ending on loan with us sort of now as the season would have ended, but their contracts on loan have been extended with the Swans, so that is some fantastic news. Brewster, Gallagher, I believe Kalulu was also signed that extension. So there are a few players that have. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 that haven't yet, that haven't been announced. But again, strength of the squad for the end of the season. We have had Joel Osoro returning from FC Groningen. His loan there has ended, so he has returned now. I don't believe he can feature between now and the end of the season as part of the registered squad. But I'd imagine he's probably in training with the boys, so getting involved there, sharing his experiences. So fingers crossed, any little booster we can get between now and the end of the season, to try and end it as strong as possible. For me, I would love us to get into the playoffs. We're not going to get automatic spots unless a miracle happens. Like I say, I think those are done and dusted with West Brom and Leeds. I think Fulham are more than likely, are the most likely to catch them, if anybody. Big game on Saturday though between Brentford and Fulham, so that'll be great for 3rd and 4th place. Who's likely then to catch 2nd, if anybody? But the playoffs are wide open. Millwall have got a decent run in. QPR, looking at it, definitely have one of the easiest run-ins with 5 teams from 19th to 24th. So they basically have everybody bar 21st to play. And then they've got 2 teams in the top 8 and 1 team in 15th place, which would be Sheffield Wednesday. So they've got a very, very easy run-in in comparison to an awful lot of teams. So I've got it up on the table just there now. All the sort of graphs that you will see during the live stream and on this preview have all been provided for by Experimental361 on Twitter. Ben Mayhew, he works in this sort of field. I've asked his permission. He's granted me to use whatever I'd like to use for my streams and my videos. His work in stats and that sort of thing and graphs on the Premier League, the Football League, it's phenomenal. It's well worth taking a look at. As I say, these sort of graphs gives you an indication as to where each team can finish and fall to or rise to during each weekend. obviously then for the end of the season, depending on how results go each week as well. So his graphs are definitely worth checking out. As I say, he's over on Twitter at experimental361. So definitely go over and check him out. As I say, with the current run of form, Swansea's recent game, which was obviously back in March, was a 0-0 draw against West Brom. So a very good result there. It was an okay game. Decent chances for both teams. Obviously a matchday vlog of that as well if you do want to go and check that out. Again, before that, a 2-2 draw against Blackburn, an unfortunate 1-0 loss against Fulham, a good 3-1 win against Huddersfield, and the 4-4 draw, the crazy game against Hull. A mixed bag of results, but only one loss in those 5, so something positive. Swans hopefully can push on now against Middlesbrough and pick up all 3 points. For Boro, it's been 3 losses, 1 win and 1 draw in those 5 games. Their most recent result was a win against Charlton, 1-0. They had a 2-2 draw then against Forest just before that. And then there was 3 losses on the bounce before that. It was 1-0 against Leeds, 1-0 against Barnsley and 1-0 against Luton. So, Boro have won more recently than Swansea, but I wouldn't say form has anything to do with this first game back this weekend. It's going to be who wants it the most, who has been prepared the most throughout lockdown, who has taken it very seriously and who has not. Fingers crossed the Swans have, from what I've been seeing, especially with no positive results coming back from all their testing, following their players on social media. They have taken it very serious. Hopefully they have off of camera and what they have been posting, but reports back, obviously from Cooper on the on his interviews and anything that's been posted has been positive, and fingers crossed that they are all prepared and mentally prepared for Saturday for that that opening game in a way. There are only a few more games left of the season. It's sort of like a mini competition now. It's a sprint to the finish. All these games are going to be completed in just over a month. It's going to be intense for the players, but that's why they've been given the extended bench and the option to use more substitutions during the game. But hopefully you've enjoyed this the sort of mini preview. It's been kind of thrown together. I haven't done a preview for a while. As I have said, I will be live streaming a watch along. It will not be the game itself, as that is against the law. I will not be sharing any audio of the game. I will not be sharing any video of the game. It will purely be me, if I have any guests on, and my reactions, my live reactions to how the game is going. Basically, I'm not just going to sit there waiting for something to happen. I'm going to be almost commentating on it. It's going to be explicit. It's hopefully going to be hopefully shit's going to hit the fan and we're going to have a party in our live stream. But hopefully the Swans come away from the Riverside Stadium with all 3 points. I'm going to go for a clean sheet for Freddie Woodman. He's been fantastic in goals for the Swans this season. Even though we've had to play so many different changes in the back 4 throughout the season, with Mike van der Horn being injured, fingers crossed he's fit before the end of the season. And fingers crossed, please sign the contract extension, even if it's for one more season, even if it's in the championships. Take a little bit of a pay cut, stay with the Swans. You love it in Swansea, you really do. I know you want to go back to Holland, but you really do love it in Swansea. We know you love it in Swansea. So sign a contract extension, make us happy, put our minds to ease, stay for another season. But as I say, with the mix, the sort of mishmash back 4 we've had throughout the season, they've done superb. We've had, I think it's 12 or 13 clean sheets. Our midfield is doing superbly well. We're dominating games with possession, not necessarily winning them, but when we are winning games, most of the time possession is on our side. Brewster, hopefully it will be all guns firing tomorrow. Andre Ayew as well. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Swansea win. I'm optimistic and I'm confident the Swans can get the job done. So like I say, fingers crossed that they do. If you have enjoyed this preview, please leave a thumbs up, leave a like on it, drop a comment down below, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. There's an awful lot of my viewers, quite a large portion of you actually that watch that are not subscribed. For whatever reason that is, I don't know, but please consider subscribing. We're on our way to 500 subscribers. I'd love to get there, within a few games towards the end of the season. But please, if you haven't, consider subscribing. What's the harm it can do? Just hit that subscribe button. I'd very much appreciate it. Up the Jacks. Come on, Swans.